So, before I get into this glitch, I want to show what happens to NPCs when they cross a boundary for new areas. Or rather, in this case, when I do. Now, as we see here, Mick becomes a lady NPC of the town area, though still in its colors. This makes me think that some NPCs may share the same bits of code that decide what their appearance is, but it also depends on their location. Now, onto the first part of the glitch, setting it up. You'll want to get some flea bags, which you can come to Reindeer here and go to the burger shop and just buy, like, some orange juice or whatever it is for the first item there. I don't have any on me, I guess, but it's okay, because as long as you have a food or whatever kind of item, honestly, you exit out and you come here to this girl and you give her any kind of food item or whatever. And she'll just give you an infinite amount of the flea bags for those items. So I'm going to give her this, which is some medication, or the white whipped cream. And I just got another flea bag, which is cool. It look like these. Now, here's the really annoying and tedious part of this. So when you select the flea bag and you use it on the robot, of course it's going to get a lot weaker so that it can't kill Eve. However, due to that, you do need to meet the turn limit, and that takes a long time. We gotta go through 255 turns, and with Minton, Lloyd, Eve, and the robot all taking turns up there fighting in the text box, this is gonna take around 36 minutes, I'd say, from how I previously timed it. If you have an extra party member like Anna with you, then it's gonna take around 52 minutes, so yeah, you'll probably not want to try this because of how long it takes and it's so tedious to set up. But in the end, it has a few interesting results, and I'll go through those. But for now, I'm gonna skip this. Now, after a long battle, you'll notice that Eve is still with you at the party here, but she's also scrapped over on the ground, and you can get the melody from her, which is funny to me. Yeah. So she's still with you, however, you can't really teleport. Well, you can. Before you couldn't at all, but now that you can, since there's no restriction on where you can go with her, you have to be really careful, because if you teleport away anywhere, she'll die instantly, and you'll lose her forever. This also means that you can't use the Onyx hook to get the Magicant, which is pretty lame, but you can, however, go to Magicant directly with the Great-Grandfather's Diary. Oh, and another thing, Eve doesn't have a sprite for that, of course. Now, about this glitch. It's a lot like the Flying Man one, so there isn't really too much I can cover with it, but I will say, aside from taking Eve anywhere you want and having her destroy everything, you do get to see really weird and unique sprites for her in other places. Like here, for example, Eve seems to become a stack of 3 regular NPCs, but the top one is not, they don't have their head or any of that. Also, it changes for every side that Eve is on. It just looks so weird. The NPCs are always facing the side, but their head is always facing up. So strange. Sometimes it just becomes something else entirely. Like a doll, I guess. Part of the canary and dog. Oh, and Teddy too. And a piece of the rocket. Yeah, just all sorts of strange stuff. However, there's not too much variety to this. But I will show what there is for it, so I'll go over that in the next few parts. No clue why, but for some reason at the entrance to the zoo, Eve doesn't know what it wants to be, goes invisible, becomes all sorts of other things. There are also a lot of places where Eve will appear normally for some reason, and I want to say it's because of an absence of NPCs in the area, but I'm not too for sure, because there's still no NPCs in most of these areas, but yet Eve becomes something else, and I guess that's also due to enemy encounter zones, but I'm not too for sure. But anyway, I'll be showing those. Up next, I'll show various glitchy effects that you can get. Something that I forgot to mention before in the Flying Man video that I found out recently is that when you get another party member at the end of your party behind the temporary one, when they die, their sprite does not update on the map until you enter a building. As you can see here, Anna's isn't normal, but now it is. Secondly, the healer will not revive him. Completely unaltered. And you still can't access their inventory. You can, however, revive them at a hospital, though. And it still does not update the sprite until you leave the room. And one more thing about it. In battle, once you progress past Minton's selection, you can't go back to it. You can't even go back to Lloyd's either. You get stuck on Anna's. Now, unlike the Flying Man, Eve does not dance at all on stage. She just kind of stays there as the others do. So it's a little disappointing to see this happen instead, but it's still interesting. Now, when Teddy comes in to fight you, Eve cannot attack at all. It's still just Minton and Teddy. Which I find is interesting, because it's like, in most cases, you'd think Eve would be attacking still, and Eve would still be the one taking the hits. Or at least one that could be hit, but no, not here. And on top of that, since you can't teleport anywhere, I decided to say no until Minton's dad sends him all the way home, because it's the easiest way to get to the other side of the map without having to walk there with Eve. So that's really nice. I want to stop to appreciate this moment. We can witness greatness like this. That's a real treat to the eyes. So, I've discovered something great here in the live house when you have a party of 4, and Eve is in the 3rd slot. When you get on stage, Anna just kind of does things, and it's something to see here. Also, surprisingly or not, you cannot accept the Flying Man into your party, but you can continue to do so since it won't soft lock the game. So in case you're like hearing this jingle a lot. Now, you can have both the Flying Man and Eve in your party at once. And oddly, in areas where Eve looks normal, the Flying Man becomes the mess that he is in the Lake Lab, instead of his usual glitched overworld sprites. Meanwhile, in areas where the Flying Man looks normal, instead Eve becomes the mess that she is in Magic Ant. However, she would already become this without the Flying Man being here anyway. Still thought it'd be nice to show though. When you come get Anna with a full party, I'm sure that you could imagine it will try to reject her. This is what happens alright, but now you'll never be able to get her into your party. Since you try to use the hat, it just disappears from your inventory and you can't get it back. Now when you try talking to her, she'll just repeat the line about you looking familiar. I do find it funny though that she goes to the center of the room and gets stuck there from trying to join your party. So you can also do the Flea Bag Glitch on this other robot here when Teddy's in the party. And this has different effects than with Eve, so I'll go over those next, because those get really, really cool. So, for some reason, after the fight is over, the whole party becomes invisible, but you're back in this room with the dance music still playing, and for some reason, Ninten's is over there? And when you approach him and talk to him, it doesn't actually say anything. That's just the "who are you talking to" message that you get when you use talk to nothing. So, when invisible, you can still interact in this scene, which I think is pretty funny, because Teddy's in the party, but he's also over there on the bed, as you see. Now, if you let the scene play out like it normally does, while you have a full party, in this case I have a Flying Man with me, Lloyd tries to join again, but there's 4 people, so the game doesn't accept them, but it does soft lock, and I find that interesting. Like, I can't do anything at all. I'm pressing every button, and yeah, real cool. But this does mean that Lloyd can join your party when it's just Ninten, Anna, and Teddy. Therefore, you can have a full party of the main 4 characters, which is really sweet. Unfortunately, there are a few downsides to having Lloyd in your party again. One being that you can't access his inventory at all, which might not be surprising. And secondly, you probably can't revive him at all since his name isn't on the list, so if he dies, he's probably just dead permanently. But I guess most didn't see a use in him. You can, however, look at his stats again, which I guess are cool. So, one thing I want to note about battles when invisible, apparently when your party members are dead, one of them has an incorrect display of HP. Trying to heal that won't change anything at all, which should probably be obvious. Secondly, when you die, this happens, and I don't know why, but it amused me a lot. It shouldn't have been surprising, but I just laughed a lot when I saw this. Like, it's just absurd. Trying to revive a dead party member when invisible by talking to the healer just crashes the game. Going to the hospital, though, is just fine, though it has some weird effects. Like the character getting stuck in the text box over there for some reason. I guess the game doesn't know where to put them, so they just go right next to the items. Now, for some reason, since the party is invisible, when you teleport and crash, you don't get to see your crash sprites, of course, but NPCs turn into them instead, and I don't get why, but yeah. It's pretty interesting. I even saw a telephone do it earlier, so I guess they have some sort of a character sprite. When you go to dance while invisible, not too much interesting happens, except for the fact that the NPCs on the bottom dance to the song the way the characters would. Oh, and I guess they turn directions and change who they are. But yeah, you see the bottom three all moving in sync. Pretty interesting. So, something really cool I've learned, and this might explain a little bit about why we're invisible. When you go to the base of the mountain, you'll see that the tank is here that Lloyd uses, and it's a little weird at first, but then I noticed that the scene where everybody gets blasted after the battle in the safe house is like right here. Like, wow, that's cool. I always wondered where the house went, and I see now they just moved it down here, and that's really interesting. Well, that concludes everything I have found and can show on the series of glitches. Thanks for watching, everyone. This was a really fun video to make, and I'll be excited to make another Mother video again in the future. Hopefully one showing some different party combinations you can get out of these glitches. Well, until then, bye.